From Yarm to Yibby, Harrington to Horsley Hill, Swarwell to Silverlink. Steve and Ry, the North East Footy Breakfast.
Right across the North East, the Red, the Toon and the Cat.
Morning.
Good morning, chaps.
I'm just fed up already. Can we finish the show, guys? I mean, what the hell? What the hell?
What's the matter with you? Got the wrong side of bed, like.
Well, actually, somebody called me at 4 a.m. this morning and heavy breathed down the phone. So I'm just hoping that. That's my whole point this morning. Now Mercer's jumping on the Souness bandwagon. I mean, come on,
Mate,
players,
having a crack,
players,
yeah.
as referees, players, as VAR officials. It's like putting Ronnie Biggs in charge of the UK Treasury because he's good at handling money. It's bizarre.
I see what you did there.
Definitely all jumping in.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It only took me a few hours to think of that.
It's all for clicks, lads. It's all for clicks. It's all for clicks onto the newspaper articles that they write and the radio stations, TV stations that they're on. And I've got to agree with you. I mean, Paul Merson, he's not somebody who does it on a constant basis, like maybe he's, a couple of these guys who work on another radio station, but he is somebody who, when he says something, really riles people, and that's, it is a pity that this has happened. It is a nightmare, but it's going to run, and VAR, this whole situation about the Liverpool-Spurs game is still dragging on. That's going on, and I've deliberately avoided that in our headlines today because we've been down that wormhole so many times on this show.
Haven't we?
We've said all we've got to say on it, and ban VAR, stop it until they can get it right.
Yeah, and stop this nonsense about putting players in charge of games.
It's incredible, isn't it, how many people just seem to chime in about it and obviously have something to say on it. It seems to be dominating and will dominate the football headlines. It's taking away from our great game. It's just, that everyone's just talking about it like it's, I don't know, some sort of plague of our current game, isn't it? But
I'll leave you with one final picture then. One final picture to carry through the morning. Let's have Paul Gascoigne in charge of the General Medical Council because he's good with dentist chairs. There you go. Let's do that one. Nonsense. Complete nonsense.
We've got plenty to talk about this morning, though, on this show. And as always, looking for people's views. And obviously, Dave's got the text number, which I'm sure he'll hand out. But we're going to talk about the Euros this morning and the ground selection. Anfield and Old Trafford not selected, which is an interesting one. Middlesbrough have got an option to buy Sam Greenwood. Would you buy him?
Yeah.
Victor Osimhen is going to be available. Is he Premier League bound? And we've also pay a little bit of respect to a former Chelsea and Real Madrid forward, Eden Hazard, who's announced his retirement. We missed a major thing yesterday, and this really was because we start the show as early as we do. It was World Mental Health Day. I just want to have a chat about that. And the video that was released by Norwich City Football Club, which was fantastic. It really was. Also want to talk about Man United. I had Melly on NUFC Matters last night, who has been on this show before, and I'm sure will be again, asking him about what is going wrong at Manchester United. And Gary Neville says that they won't make the top 5. Do you? And England have told UEFA that they want to play for their place at Euro 28.
Yeah.
Is that a good thing? Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Should football get involved with politics? We'll also be discussing that, and we'll go back as well to the growth of the Saudi League, which I think is going to potentially ruin football. It's another talking point. Also, lots to talk about with the headlines that we've got from the 3 North East clubs, but going to be a good show today, chaps. I can feel it in my bones.
Good, but I'll let you guys lead because all I'll talk about is complete nonsense that comes out of former players' mouths if you let me talk. So carry on.
First, we're going to talk about a great career that Paul Merson's had, right?
Hey, I tell you what, guys. He's not with us yet, but Ted's been on our little WhatsApp group, and he reckons it's pretty arrogant of Merson to assume refs have never played the game. Never thought I'd see the day when I'd agree with a Mackham, Ted.
Well, let's talk about that, because let's start with that then, because obviously football players you know, they play the game at the top level, and you know, ultimately, you know, they start in the academies, they work their way up, and they get themselves into, you know, if they're good enough, they get themselves into the Premier League and go on to play European football at the highest level. So, you know, it would be a natural thing to say, well, maybe ex-players, or a good quarter of ex-players, should become referees for me. They've played the game at the top level. They're going to know a lot of these players because your careers pass. You know, as the older ones are going through, they see the youngsters coming through. So they're going to know these people. They're going to know the characters. But very few, if any, of these former players take up the gauntlet, run the gauntlet of doing it. And I guess you've got to ask your question, why? It's probably because they're getting vast amounts of money as a professional footballer at the top level, and they'll be getting a fraction of that as a referee, and they would just get a load of grief. They would be getting a load of grief, because referees do get grief. They get hammered by the crowd. You know, 50,000 people breathing down your neck.
Mate, when I was at Bradford Park Avenue, it was magnificent when I was coming through the ranks, because there was this guy every week I'd be there. All he did before he even blew a whistle, shout, "Come on, Clothhead! Come on, Clothhead!" It's fantastic. I loved it.
Why did he give you that nickname?
He said it to every referee that was there. So
right.
I was just, you know, baiting referees was part of the fun on a Saturday afternoon.
But you see, 50,000 people breathing down your neck. It's going to put you on the back foot, you would think. But no, a lot of them seem to revel in that side of it. But it's the players giving them grief. But I don't think ex-players would make good referees. I think, and I mean, we've already seen the VAR controversy where, you know, we've had somebody doing their mate a favour. I mean, you can imagine that happening with footballers on a regular basis. You could also imagine somebody who's had 6 studs raked down their calf in a bad challenge in a game 10 years earlier, has a couple of players that they don't particularly like. It'll be yellow carding and red carding them at every opportunity. I mean, it's human nature, isn't it? So I don't think that's ever gonna like become a regular thing. You know, they tried it in the non-league as well. I remember managing in the non-league years ago, and they were trying to get people involved with your football club to become referees, and you know, there was a slow uptake, a very, very slow uptake.
Didn't Harps do it? Didn't Harps do it?
Yes.
Yeah, Harps did it, and Anthony Loma, he did it as well.
Yep.
But I think it's all right. Yes, I get it. I actually don't have a problem with former footballers becoming referees, as long as they do the groundwork, because they're two complete different disciplines. You know, playing a game of football, the players like to argue against the laws of the game. They prefer the laws of the game to be as they understand they should be to help the game. They'll cheat, they'll dive, they'll try and con the referee. Of course they will. It's all part of the game. You know, when I played on a Sunday morning, Saturday afternoon, I used to do the same. Come on, ref, you can't, you know. I'd try and psychologically get into the mind of the ref. But it is two different disciplines, completely different disciplines. One's all about playing to the best of your ability. The other one is actually to keep control of players and to see that the game is played in the spirit of the laws of the game. They're two complete disciplines. So for a former pro who's earning decent money at the top level, not all pros are, because they're not in the lower levels, but you know, earning a decent amount of money, they've spent a large chunk of their career and time and their life getting to where they are, so they're not going to be spring chickens when they come across and try and pick up the whistle. You know, for them then to do, even if it's 5 years sort of basic training and getting experience in handling the game, because it is completely different. I think that's what turns them off. I really do.
So does it matter? Paul Merson, you know, his argument, you know, this morning, you know, there was Ian Wright's got involved with Mike Dean, and Paul Merson had a Barney with Mike Dean. Everyone's having a Barney. And Ted, our Sunderland correspondent, had said it's arrogant to Merson to assume that refs have never played the game. Maybe not to the standard of Premier League, but at least to a non-league level. Many of them have done. So does it matter what level you've played at, Ry?
I don't reckon it does, but it's funny just, you know, to hear everyone just jumping in, and I don't think it matters what level you've played at, as long as you've played obviously professional football with, you know, the rule set and stuff like that. Of course, obviously you've got a good understanding of the game, but I mean, it's a general thing, isn't it, that not many players become referees. It's just, you know, it's just not a thing. And you know, there's obviously, you know, players out there that give referees, you know, all types of hell during their playing time. And
hey, right, we give players a lot of hell on the pitch as well.
We do.
Yeah,
we do,
you know.
we do.
Well, are you saying we there? You've got a whistle in your hand.
I always think of Chris Cammy, and
Just
obviously he's always said, you know, and it's always been Cammy. Dave's always brought it up, but Cammy's always said that referees can't judge fouls because they've never played the game professionally. So, you know, it does beg a belief, you know, whether, you know, Cammy's got a point, or if, you know, it just, you know, you got to let referees who have done the training, done the time, go and do their schooling, much like, you know, a manager getting their coaching badges or anything like that. You know, they're officiating the game, you know, and they are, you know, out there doing the game of service. Without referees, there's no football. It's as simple as that. So, you know, there needs to be a bit more sort of I would like to see the PGMOL just offer a bit more protection up at the moment. You know, if we're seeing all these players saying players should be referees and stuff like that, why not PGMOL come out and say, well, actually, this is why, sort of thing. So I'd like to just see a little bit of a bite back from
Dave, what do you think? If you've played in the Gateshead District Sunday League or the I don't know, the Stanley League or whatever, you know, does that mean that you're capable of, you know, taking charge of a game between Manchester United and Newcastle?
Well, this is going to be epic from Dave. Steve and I'll go for a curry. We'll be back in an hour.
I mean, look, the average length of time training, it's probably a bit out of date now, but certainly if you went back 10 years ago when the study was done, the average amount of training time a professional game referee has to do before he gets into the professional game is about 13 years. That's what the average was. That's how much background work he's got to do, starting at the lowest level. You know, coming through the Gateshead and District Sunday League, or whatever it's called, or the Teesborough League, or whatever. So that's where you start. You work your way through. You get your promotions at county level, local level to county level. Then you start working through the Wayside League. Then you start working, you know, this is the old path. Then you start working through the Northern League. If you were a bit special, you went into the Unibond League. Then you were talking about the conference, you know, and it takes time to develop it takes time to absorb the laws of the game. I mean, if you ask 99% of professionals how many laws of the game are there, they couldn't answer the question. And it's just a number.
Nah,
guys, do you know how many laws of the game are there?
I don't know.
No, I've got no idea.
Well, there you go. I'll throw it out to the masses. How many laws of the game? Everybody's going to Google now. Hey, let's do a quick search. How many laws of the game are there? You know, it's a simple question, but there you go. I mean, it's. I could give you a multitude of examples of on-the-field incidents and ask you, what does the referee give? What is awarded? And I can guarantee 95% of the players won't know. The number, by the way, is 0330 043 2002. 0330 043 2002. Is there anybody out there listening to the North East Footy Brekky who can instantly tell me, send us a WhatsApp message, 0330 043 2002, how many laws of the game are there? And now I can see Google's getting actually mega attacked. But it takes time. It's not just a case of get that book, read it and consume it and learn parrot fashion. You know, what to do, you know. There are 10 penal offences for which a direct free kick can be awarded. Now, that's a pretty important part of the laws of the game, because if something happens in front of you as a referee, do you give a direct free kick or a penalty if it's inside the penalty area, or do you give an indirect free kick? So what are those 10 offences? So it's all that sort of stuff that you have to absorb, and that's what you do at the bottom level. So when you're refereeing on a Sunday morning, when you're refereeing on a Saturday afternoon local league, you know, that's what you're putting into practice. You're trying to, as a brand new rookie referee, you've learnt the laws of the game, you've passed your laws of the game test, then you go out and start applying those laws and trying to remember, oh God, this thing's just happened in front of me. What does that book say? Oh yeah, I've got to do this now. You know, that's where you start. But then as you progress, you're getting higher levels of the game, you're getting better levels of player to deal with, you're getting more psychology thrown at you. And you're then taking those laws of the game and you're trying to apply them correctly. So it's the application of the laws. It's not just recognising, it's then applying correctly. And then as you go higher and higher, you start going into considerations. So, right. You know, when a player launches himself into a challenge, you know, is he in control of his body weight? Is he just throwing himself completely off the ground? So he's basically throwing himself in like a missile, which could do huge damage. What part of the leg does it make contact with? What part of his leg is the contact made with? Is his knee locked or bent? because that makes a hell of a difference on the damage you can do to a player. You know, there's what are the ground conditions like? How close was he to the ball? Was he not to the ball? There's all these considerations, and there was a list I was given when I was refereeing in a professional game. 212 considerations listed that you've got to go through and work your way through when you're trying to apply the laws of the game to try and determine how bad the challenge was. Is it just a free kick? Or was it reckless, so it has to be a yellow card? Did it use excessive force, therefore it's a red card? And you've got to judge all that instantly. When it happens, the moment you blow the whistle, all of that, and it's all to do with learning the laws, understanding the laws, applying the laws, and then at the very highest point of the game, you start talking about, considerations that's behind the incidents that's in there, the spirit of the law that you must apply, etc. So that's why it takes time to become a top flight referee, because you need to put it into practice, you need to do the training, the learning, the application, and get a natural feel for it. Now, that's why footballers at the highest level won't do it, because it's going to take a number of years for them to do that before they can referee their mates on a Premier League game.
But isn't it, I mean, to be honest with you, in our current day and age, though, Dave, it's not that hard to be a referee, is it? Because you just go to VAR, right? I mean, I could do it.
And that's the cop-out that Jeff Winder said. And there are two concerns for me. Does VAR now give the referee a cop-out not to make a decision?
Exactly. If I
Because
know if it's an indirect or direct free kick, I'll just go,
if you're a lazy referee.
If you're a lazy referee. So that's the cop-out. Oh, I'm not sure. Rather than embarrass myself, I'll leave it for VAR. Or the other one is, if your mate does shout in your ear, Jeff, you better go and see this, you're automatically thinking, I've made a mistake, and you're looking for where you've made a mistake. Then viewing the incident 27 times from 9 different camera angles in slow motion in real time. You're there viewing it, thinking, "Ooh, my mate in Stockley Park thinks I've made a mistake because he's asked me to go and review it." So you're automatically no longer impartial when it comes to that challenge. You're already thinking you've made a mistake and you're looking for it. So that's why it should be burnt at the stake at half time, fellas, as part of the match entertainment.
How much would you say? How much would you say? I was going to say, how much would you say a referee gets now?
Ooh,
what does he get now? I mean, when we're in Jeff Winter's time, who was here on the show yesterday, in his time, when the PGMOL was formed and the first select group of referees, so if you like full-time as they were termed, professional referees started, they started on a basic of $33,000 a year, irrespective of how many games they refereed, and then they would be given a match fee on top of that. So that 33
and travelling expenses?
And travelling expenses, all of that was taken care of. The match fees used to be, go on, now you're asking. I know it was 33 grand basic. I think the match fees were something like 800 quid a game or something. So it was a professional game referee could earn 6-figure salaries.
It's not bad for running around with a load of legends, is it really?
And that was what was that? 15, 20 years ago. So it's obviously gone up since then.
I mean, it's interesting as well that we're talking a lot about referees and ex-players becoming referees, but no one's talking about managers becoming referees. I'd love to see Jurgen Klopp be the next referee in the Premier League.
Oh, God.
Why is no one talking about Jurgen Klopp's the best referee out there? I don't know what you're talking about. He wants games replayed and he's got all the points on VAR and stuff like that. Where's Jurgen Klopp? I want him running around in a yellow shirt when he's done at Liverpool.
If he was grimacing at me, I made a challenge and he calls me over and he grimaces at me with those pearly whites that he's got, I'd be terrified. Forget the cards.
He would be like Uriah Rennie was. Uriah Rennie was like the first celebrity referee. I remember there was like articles in the paper of him and his bloody leather bike outfit and
I was wondering where you were going with that.
Posing on a Harley Davidson and all that, all because he sent Alan Shearer off. He gave Alan Shearer his only red card of his career. And I mean, he just became like a celebrity in his own right. I mean, had reality TV been a big thing back in them days, he would have been going and, I'm a celebrity and going into Big Brother probably. But he changed the course of referees. I think he made them all. It was all about them. David Ellery was another one, who people remember. Was he the one that was pushed over by the West Ham player?
Paulo Di Canio.
Where he staggered back and fell on his backside. So we had that little era. We had that little era of referees who made a name for themselves. There was a guy from the northeast as well who my granddad trained, who sent off Kevin Moran in the FA Cup final, first person to be sent off in a cup final in 1985.
Let's not forget Alan Wilkie, who sent Eric Cantona off in the famous Kung Fu kick at Selhurst Park.
That was a classic.
Yeah.
That was. I mean, those kind of games stand out. But referees, the best referees, are the referees you don't see.
Why do you say that? Why do you say that?
Because the game's flowed.
That narks me big time.
The game's flowed though, Dave. The last thing I want to do, and I pay money to go and watch a football game against PSG. PSG last week. I've only heard one person who's a good friend of mine who said, I thought the referee had a bad game against PSG. I personally thought the referee had a good game. I didn't notice him, and I think that's a sign of a good ref because he lets the game flow. If there's a game getting stopped, for say the first 45 minutes is littered with free kicks and this, that and the other, and he's pulling it back for things which other referees will let the game flow for, then I'm going, oh my God, this is a nightmare, this referee's a nightmare.
But what if you've got? I'll just throw one scenario. I get where you're coming from with that statement. But where I really dislike it with a passion is a referee can only referee what's put in front of him. Now, what about those games that are highly charged and you've got 22 players who want to kick lumps out of each other and the referee has to get involved to try and keep control of the game? Therefore, you're going to see him, through no fault of his own, he is forced by the way the players are conducting themselves. Who were the two, by the way? It was Kieran Dyer. Who were the... Was it...
Boya.
Lee Boyer, Kieran Dyer. So the referee had to get involved there and send two players off because they started scrapping, even though they were teammates. They started scrapping on the pitch. So you had to see the referee in that scenario. So that's why I'm saying, in general, yes, I get where you're coming from. The best referees are those that you don't see, you don't notice on the field. But that's only in those games where the players want to play football and the referee doesn't have to get involved, so he can apply advantage. So he doesn't have to keep whistling and stopping the game because he can try and keep the game flowing. Get it? But it's not 100% true all the time. I've had those games where and look, this is a game in Singapore. I had a game where there was a Chinese team against a Japanese team when the two countries almost were going to war over a history book. And I turn up at this stadium, and it was the home ground of the Japanese team, Sinchi, and they were playing Albirex Niigata, and the whole stadium was decked out in Chinese national wrappings and dress, and there's Chinese national music playing, and the whole thing was set up by Sinchi as they were playing this Japanese team. When I got on the field, all they wanted to do was kill each other.
Yeah, look, I get it. Look, and I agree with you on the fact that there's certain games where teams are going to kick lumps out of each other. Derby games are a prime example. Newcastle, Sunderland games are that they're at a different level. So you expect it. So stopping and starting in games like that isn't as much of an issue. It's just sometimes there's games where a referee will be pulling back a certain team more than another team. It appears there's a bias. I'm sure there isn't, but it appears sometimes that a referee will give 10 free kicks against Newcastle in the first half, and then in the second half you almost get that impression, he's got to balance it up, so he's balancing it up in the second half.
And that does happen. That does happen. I'd be lying if I said it didn't.
It's human nature. It's human nature. I mean, let's take Bruno for example, at the weekend against West Ham. Watching that game back, that first yellow card was a bit harsh. The second one was a yellow card. Now, but he could have been sent off, couldn't he? But I just genuinely think that the referee in that particular situation felt, I got it wrong there. I got it wrong with the first yellow card. It'll be harsh to send him off. I'm going to get crucified for that. So I'll not give him a yellow card for that second one. I'm going to give him one last chance. And when you watch it back, the referee does talk. He does talk to Bruno, and he's pointing to the different parts of the pitch, and he's going, "Look, mate. This is, you're lucky here because I could have peddled you there and I didn't, and this is the reason." But the point I was trying to make was that some referees love being in the limelight. David Ellery was one. Mike Dean was another. He had his own song. It's all about you, Mike Dean. It's all about you. We used to sing it to him on a regular basis. And obviously, Uriah Rennie was almost like the man who started all of this. So I just think the best best referees are the ones you don't come onto a show like this on a weekday talking about because you haven't seen them and they've done their job properly. Yes, there's free kicks being handed out. Yes, there'll have been yellow cards. There might have been a red card. There might have been a penalty. But we're not sitting here. He's not the focus of attention. We're talking about the stupidity of the defender or the cheating centre forward who's dived or whatever. We're not sitting here going, well, the referee this and that the other because the referee's had a good game.
Yeah, look, it's a generalism which I can see 95% of the time rings true, but it's just that 5% of the time that a referee can only referee what's put in front of him. And if it's going to be World War II out on the pitch because two teams hate each other, because it's a local derby and there's massive rivalry, whatever, he's got to get involved and he's got to be seen. But I get it, mate. Right, I'm going to shut up now for the rest of the show, and I'll let you talk about football.
I think it was this great point, obviously, on and you take the class example from West Ham, Newcastle. We both watched that game. I thought that was quite niggly, Steve. I thought there was both sort of, some heavy tackles from both teams. We had Bruno, obviously, for Newcastle, but Paqueta for West Ham was diving in as well, and I think he should have had a card against, I think it was Lascelles running up down the right there. So, I mean, but he, I would argue that ref stayed hidden, didn't he? Because I didn't know his name at the end of the day. I didn't think he made any conscious decisions. We saw Tonali getting tackled right at the end, right in front of David Moyes. David Moyes was jumping up and around, but I couldn't tell you what the referee's name was or the mistakes he made on that game because he balanced it out. He stayed quiet. He had the words to the players. He went in their ears, like you said. He went over to Bruno and said, "You've done this. You've done this." He went to Paqueta as well. Obviously, when he had those bad tackles as well, and he went over and had a word to him, and he stayed kind of silent, out of the limelight, if you will, and managed the game, accordingly, and kept 11 men for both teams, because there could have been quite easily 2 yellows, if not a red, in that game, if it was officiated by someone else.
Yeah, Peter Banks was getting hammered by West Ham fans. Bruno should have got sent off. He was rubbish, etc. So I mean, that's the flip side of it. You know what I mean? They were saying that the free kick that was given should never have been a free kick that led to Newcastle's first goal, and Bruno shouldn't have been on the pitch, etc. But we all see it through. We see it through black and white tinted glasses. They see it through claret and blue.
Of course you do, and it goes back to what Jeff Winder was saying yesterday. A referee's got a number of tools in his armoury when he's on the field, and he would always start off, unless it's a ridiculous challenge, he would always start off with the quiet word. You wouldn't even see, as a fan, him running past a player and going, "Just be careful, mate." It's that sort of thing. I saw that. I saw you pulling him back. I'll do you next time. It's that sort of, it's so innocuous on the field, you wouldn't even pick up that the referee is starting his control of players and the situation. And that's a good referee, and it can escalate. So then comes a public bollocking where he stops the game, calls the player over, tells him no more. He's got yellow cards, he's got red cards, he's got all of that. You're on your last warning, mate. Next time I'll do you. And that's all the tools a referee's got, and that's man management. It's like anything. It just happens to be he wears a pair of football boots, dresses in whatever colour they dress these days, and carries a whistle in his hand, so he's called a referee. Isn't that the same as at work? Isn't that the same as an employee's, out of line? So your gaffer will go over and say, "You better behave yourself, mate." Exactly. or you come in and you get a verbal warning, or you get a written warning. You can be fired at the end of the day. It's no difference. Yeah. It's the skill as the art is man management. Some refs have it, some refs don't, and the refs that don't tend to hide behind the cards. So that's why some referees will be more liable to give a card in a situation where if another referee thinks, and I honestly don't believe there's a referee in the Premier League who likes, or I'll put this in a different way, who goes out looking to give cards.
No, of course not. I mean, you need thick skin as a referee, don't you? Because, I mean, look, we talk about, I've been watching, you have to be the toughest, mentally strongest person out there, because we talk about, and I've been watching the Beckham documentary, and obviously it's taking it by storm, but we saw in that documentary, obviously the Beckham red card in the World Cup took England out, right? He was absolutely booed and ridiculed and had stuff sent in the mail, death threats sent to his family, all this types of stuff from giving away a red card that England felt cost them the World Cup, right? Now, picture that, right? So David Beckham is part of a team still. He said the only thing that got him through that was being part of a team, being in Man United, having his teammates around him that took him in. He said the gaffer protected him, and that's how he got through so much ridicule. I mean, the man had bullets sent to him in the mail. You know what I mean? Like, this is the sort of level that, you know, some fans go to. It's not everyone, but there is the 1% there. They go absolutely too far. Flip that over to a referee that's absolutely hated for a decision they make. They're a one-man army. They don't have a team around them. They've got a couple of refs that were there on the day. They don't have a gaffer to protect them. They are the one-man army. They were the sole person out on that pitch. So when they make a mistake, when they make a decision that goes against a barrage of fans or a nation, if you will, in the World Cup, they are alone. And that's what you know, turns me off about being a ref, and I think everyone, because you are actually alone. You are alone out on that pitch to make the decision that could cost a nation, could cost a club. We're talking millions of dollars here as well, by the way. We're talking, you know, deep pockets of people that are, you know, with your decision could financially ruin or benefit, you know, other people. And you're alone. You walk off that pitch with, you know, your two other, your linesmen and stuff, but then that's it. And then you've got to deal with whatever comes your way in terms of walking down the street to get your paper and your coffee in the morning, you know, wherever it is you live. And I can't tell you, there's not enough money in the world for me to do that, because I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it.
I just love the psychology. That's, people say to you, why do you want to ref? And people have different reasons for doing it. But I just love the psychology of having to go out there and manage 22 people who you don't know. You do get to know them when you get to the higher levels, because obviously there's less number of teams in the same competition that you tend to focus on. But I just used to love that psychology of, you know, I'm going out here to try and allow 22 people to have the best game of football they can, and I've got to handle whatever's thrown at me. And that's, you know, the psychological battle between players and ref, the coach and ref, players against players, the crowd. At that game in India, a referee, it was 110,000 in the stadium. Yeah. You know, you do hear it, you do feel it.
Well, that's what I was going to say, Dave. Do you think you say you go out there to manage 22 players? Do you think there are referees that go out there to manage 22 players plus 110,000 fans in a stadium?
No,
because there's got to be referees that take that into account, with the fans bickering, the fans yelling and stuff like that. I don't. Then they're not only managing the players, but they're also managing the stadium, right? The fans.
Well, you are.
You see fans yelling and screaming at referees to make a call, and some give into that.
You zone out. How many times have you heard players say, you know, do you hear the cat calls? Do you hear the boo boys? Do you hear? And the players say, no, we're focused on playing the game. And certainly, I can only speak from what I've done. You know, when I did that game, you notice the crowd when you go out. I noticed the crowd when I awarded a penalty, because 60,000 people suddenly went up in celebration, and you hear the cheer. But you don't notice it outside of that. You're so focused on the game, you know. You don't notice that. And so that was certainly in my case. And it was, I was given a copy of the match video a few years ago, and when I watched the video, the only time I really wanted to take in the crowd and the atmosphere was after full time, and I'm walking off the field, and I just remember there's this shot on the video where I stop as I got across the touchline to go down the tunnel. I just stop and look back and have a look around the stadium, and then I disappear out the stadium. Prior to that, you're refereeing a game of football. Your focus, your concentration is 100% on what's happening in front of you, and you do zone out. It's just like players saying, you know, you think as a fan, the players must hear it. No, you know, the players will hear it when they go to take a corner, and they're right near the crowd, and the crowd are either clapping and applauding because you're a home player, or you're in front of your home fans, or, you know, you're getting boos and jeers and all sorts of abuse thrown at you because you're at the away end or whatever. That's when the players will see it. But during the game, you're focused on what you're doing.
Yeah, of course you are. Well, interesting day, as usual. Something else takes over.
And I'll give you the answer to the question. There are 17 laws of the game. There you go. That's all right.
Okay.
Just 17.
Name them, Dave.
I can if you want me to, but you'll be really bored by the end of it. So law one, here we go. No, law one's the field of play. So this is what will bore the pants off players if they have to become referee. Law one is the field of play. So what dimensions can it be in? Can it be a square field? You know, how wide do the lines have to be? How thick can the goalposts be? You know, what shape can the goalposts be? You know, that's before you even get into a game. This is the sort of stuff you have to learn. And I did go to a professional game once where there was a brand new groundsman, was employed by a football club, who'd never marked out a football pitch in his life because he'd done athletic tracks, and he marked the pitch wrong because he guessed the dimensions. We had to delay the start of play to get the pitch remarked. So as a referee, you do have to learn the basics, because it does come and bite you on the bum every now and again. It really, honestly.
How's the bacon, did you say?
How's the bacon?
How's the bacon?
Go on, get on with it.
I don't know. I heard laws of the game, and I just thought, how's the bacon? Sorry.
Yeah, well, they're not rules, they're laws. There you go, mate.
Exactly. Look, World Mental Health Day, something which was yesterday. It was a day which passed us by because we do this show really early on, and by the time we come off, we get a chance to check our social media. And World Mental Health Day is something that's been recognised since 1992. And yesterday, unfortunately, because we're on radio, we can't play you the video and have the same kind of effect. But Norwich City put out a video yesterday to show their support. It was heart-wrenching. It really was.
Wasn't it?
Just describe it. It was two supporters who were going to the match, and it's a situation we'll have all been in some shape or form. Going to a game, there'll be somebody who sits next to you at the Riverside, at the Stadium of Light, at St James's Park, who you don't know when you first sit next to them, but over the course of a season, if you're sitting next to each other on a regular basis, you get to know them. And this video was only 2.5 minutes long, but it had the emotions of a season. And every time the edit took place, there was the guy's shirts were changing or whatever, and there was one guy who was sitting who was he looked very morose. He looked like he had all the troubles of the world on his mind, and the other guy was jumping up and down. He was celebrating the goals. He was going through the roller coaster of emotions that we all go through with football. And as you watched it, you were drawn in. You were watching this other guy who was depressed, and you were thinking, well, this guy's he's going to open up. He's going to say something. He's going to cry, whatever. And as the video comes to its conclusion, we see this guy who we've been focused on as the morose, quiet guy who we think has got all the troubles of the world on his shoulders, and he'd been given a scarf in the last game by the guy, and he comes into the ground and he sits down next to an empty seat and he puts the scarf on the seat, and you're like, oh my God. And the message we're getting across was that we all wear a mask, we all have a different face, which we have in the public, but we don't know what's going on underneath. And the guy next to him had been asking if he was okay, and asking if how his life was going. Was everything going all right outside of football? But it was the guy who appeared to be happy, who had the troubles of the world on his shoulders, and who clearly had decided to take his own life. So I think it was a great way of showing your support for World Mental Health Day. I think that ultimately for us, we're always learning as humans, and especially as men. Men tend not to open up about this kind of thing. We tend to keep things quiet if we've got issues, and we try to be the strong alpha male, and we're there for the family, or we're friends or whatever. But ultimately, it's good to talk. And if you have got an issue, if you're sitting at home today and you're listening to me and the lads, talk about this particular issue, and you need help, don't be afraid to go and ask. Don't be afraid to reach out to somebody on social media. Don't be afraid to pick up the phone and speak to somebody, because that is the message that this video was trying to get across, and it's something I've supported since it started in 1992. But we all go through ups and downs, and unfortunately that's part and parcel of life. We've just got to get on with it, and it's how you learn from it, it's how you recover from it, and it's how you keep on walking forward. But right, that was a tearjerker. I don't mind admitting, mate, I cried at that.
Yeah, I cried as well, mate. It's it's something that we've all gone through as men, and obviously everyone in the world. Life throws stuff at you. Life isn't easy. It has its ups, it has its downs, and some of the downs are really, really down. And you can be the funniest, most humble being. I liken it to Robin Williams. Robin Williams was one of the funniest men on the planet. He was always at the forefront of telling a joke, and always in the comedic roles, and took his own life. And you would have that's the one still shocked me. But it was an incredible, powerful video. And make sure, if you are suffering from mental health issues or anything like that, if you're based in the UK, you've got a call-free number, day or night, through Samaritans on 116 123. Get in touch with them. And if you are listening from Australia as well, we've got Beyond Blue here, which is also call-free 24/7 on 1300 22 463. 36. So get in touch with someone, have a chat. We've all been through it. I'm no martyr to it. I served in Afghanistan. I went through some real big lows. The reason I am where I am to this day is because of Afghanistan, and my injuries are suffered from there. And the mates that we went through it with it all, and I've suffered from my big lows, and the only thing that got me through it was talking to people, talking to someone, and it really does, it just takes some weight off when you can talk to other people, because you realise that you're not alone, and you realise that other people are going through similar things. And you saw on this Norwich video, and what made me cry was the fact that it wasn't the person you thought it would be. It's the person that's, probably putting on the brave face. It's probably the person that is the funniest. It's probably the person that is masking how much they're hurting on the inside. So make sure you check on your mate. Make sure you ask, and if you are suffering, even if it is in silence, make sure you get in touch, because there's plenty of helplines out there. You're not alone at all anymore, and mental health is a serious issue that is now being recognised, and there is help out there.
I think the line at the end of the video was the telling line, and touches exactly what you were saying there, Ry, which is sometimes the signs are harder to spot, and that's what that video brought home, wasn't it? You've got the two guys, one looking like he's not got a care in the world and he's just enjoying life, and the other guy which is looking like he's got the pressure of the world on his shoulders, and right at the end, that twist in that video, just brings it home. You just never know. You just never know.
No, you don't, and that's the thing.
You definitely don't. No, well, there you go. Make sure you give the video a watch. If there's one thing you watch on social media today, give that a watch. And as I say, we're slightly late to the party, but I don't think you're ever too late when you're talking about that and pushing something,
definitely not.
Which is very, very important to us all. Okay, moving on to football again. And big announcements yesterday. Probably the worst kept secret in Euro terms was that Euro 2028 is coming to the UK after other hosts.
It's coming home.
It is. Well, I hate that
song. Again.
And again. Yeah, crossed out.
And again. How many countries?
10 venues were announced yesterday, and St James's Park was one of them, which was great news for the northeast, I guess. And I think I've got to be honest, I did scratch my head at a couple of the things yesterday. Aston Villa, for me, one of the tackier, dated football grounds in the Premier League is being selected. I don't understand why that's picked. When I was doing the podcast with Melly last night, he said, well, it's the atmosphere that you get in Villa. It's quite an intense atmosphere, so that's why they always pick Villa. I probably think it's more to do with the fact that it's in Birmingham, and they've got to keep different parts of the country happy. Anfield didn't get picked. I think that's probably one of the better grounds in the Premier League.
It's probably a better ground than Villa Park.
It's one of my favourites, and I think the atmosphere in there is better than Villa Park.
Yeah.
Manchester United didn't get picked. The Theatre of Dreams has become the Theatre of Drips. It's got holes in the roof. Fans are getting wet.
That they can't repair.
The Theatre of Streams is now literally just being parked, and they mustn't be happy about that, because Manchester City and their stadium has been picked. But this one really did surprise me. Everton's new stadium's been selected.
Yeah.
We don't even know what it's like.
It's
not even built. I mean, I reckon it's going to be ready next year, but they must be fairly confident that it's going to be ideal for hosting games. Wembley, of course, included, and Tottenham's ground. I've been to Tottenham's ground, obviously to watch football, and I've been for one of Tyson Fury's fights. I do like it. I've got to be honest; it's not my favourite ground. I wouldn't.
It's the third largest ground in the country.
That's why it's been picked, but and it's state of the art. But I wouldn't say that is my favourite ground. But is it a good thing that we've got the Euro 28? I've mentioned over the last 24 hours, I feel sometimes that it does turn away other tourism. People think, well, I don't want to come to England because I won't want to go to England for my holidays because there's loads of rampaging football fans all over the place. I don't know whether it's a plus or a minus, but
are you lads going to have which one is it? You're going to have is it the Gallagher end and the East Stand done?
Yes, well, of course, there's talk of that. Newcastle United have put in, they've put in the requests now. They're looking at plans to extend, at the Gallagher end, potentially on the East Stand. So, but it's all talk at the moment. But we're 4 years away from this tournament happening. So by the time it comes round, then we will be in that position, we will be in that position to accommodate more. So, yeah, I do think Newcastle having it is a good thing. I'm old enough to remember the last Euros that came to Newcastle. I think we had Stoichkov there, if I remember rightly. Hadji played at St James's Park. We didn't get an England game, unfortunately, but we did get Euro games. I think the attendances were okay. I don't recall what the attendances were, and I'm not sure if they were at capacity, but there was a lot of there was a lot of excitement around, and having those people, having those fans come to St James's was exciting. At the time, was it 96? It was, wasn't it? Because we had Italia 90, but it was Euro 96 that England came oh so close to winning. Obviously, lost and didn't get to the final, unfortunately. Lost to Germany in the semis. But yeah, we had Euro 96 in, and it was a good, it was exciting. It was nice to have people from different nationalities, so it did work. I'm not sure what what it'll be like this time round, but Ry, it's good. At least one of the grounds in the Northeast has been recognised and given an opportunity.
Well, that's the thing as well. I'd like to, when you have a tournament of such, you want to see it spread over England. The whole of England should have at least 1 or 2 games so that, everyone in England can get to their local or their closest stadium. But there's 2 major, it blows my mind, and I wanted to get the questions off you lads and maybe on the WhatsApp as well. But, there's 2 big question marks hanging over 2 potential venues. One, obviously, being Everton's new stadium. It's not even built. And secondly, the Belfast, Casement Park. That's Gaelic football. I mean,
have you seen the clip of it? Have you seen the clip of it?
It's derelict, mate. It is literally run down, and and it's set up for Gaelic. So it's incredible that that one's been selected. And if you have a look at this as well, right? So we've got London, Cardiff, Manchester, Liverpool, obviously the Northeast represented by St James Park, Birmingham, Glasgow, and Dublin with the Aviva Stadium. Where about? See, for me then, Strokes. Okay, what about the Southampton, Portsmouth? What about down the very bottom? What representative there do we have that can get fans from down the bottom?
London.
Where can they go?
London.
And where's the east? Where's the west? Have they represented the whole of England there, or have they chosen purely on how many people they can get into a ground for ticket sales?
Well, let's have a look at 96, and the stadiums that were used in 96 were Wembley, Old Trafford, Anfield, St James's Park. By the way, it was a 46% capacity attendance for the St James's Park during the tournament. I think the average was 24,000. Villa Park, Hillsborough, Elland Road, and City Ground. So what have you got there? You've got London, Manchester, Liverpool, Newcastle, Birmingham, Sheffield, Leeds, and Nottingham. That was Euro 96.
That's wild.
A lot different, isn't it?
It's massively different. And you're absolutely right. The biggest, as an Australian, and Australians will know, Anfield is one of the best stadiums that everyone wants to go to. You have to have that in your list. The Stadium of Light, Manchester United, everyone knows it, has to get in there. Obviously St James Park, again, for the Northeast, probably the best stadium, behind the Riverside in the Northeast. And you have to have that. Do you know what I mean? Hampden Park is one of the best stadiums, and you've got that as well. But I just feel like it doesn't feel like they've put enough thought into this
politics.
one.
That's what it is.
It's the money grab as well, which you know what I mean? Because Casement Park, if you don't know what Casement Park is, I'm an Aussie, and I haven't been to Casement Park, but I tell you, get on Google, get on your social media, and if you don't know what Casement Park is, have a look, because it is terrible. I mean, it is derelict.
They are going to rebuild, aren't they? They are rebuilding it.
There's controversy and delays with that, though. So it's just, it blows my mind. Blows my mind that Anfield and stuff like that, other stadiums that are ready to go, have more of the heritage, more of the history, more of the beneficial factor of, okay, maybe it's going to be a weird game where it's, it's not your 2 biggest Euro teams playing at Anfield, but you would still go because it's Anfield Park. You know what I mean? That's the thing. That's what you want in the Euros, because you're going to have games where there's not really much fan base, and you're kind of hoping on the locals to fill the ground just as a neutral, just to go and watch a Euro tie because it's at. And the pool there is the stadium it's at. when you've got the two low qualifying teams in the Euro playing and you're only expecting 20, 23,000, if that. You're expecting the pool of an Anfield, whatever it may be, to pull in the rest of those fans. And Casement Park ain't going to do that.
I love the line on Casement Park, which is the British and Irish governments are hoping the new stadium will be up and running a year before the tournament starts.
Oh, my God.
Hoping.
Oh, my God.
That fills you full of confidence, doesn't it?
Everton's Bramley Moore is going up by 200,000 quid a year at the moment in terms of costing, and it's still under construction. They were due to have it done 2 years ago. You know what I mean?
Well, I guess there's 4 years. I think there's 4 years. I mean, when we see when we see World Cups taking place in the Middle East and stadiums getting built, and they're building them from scratch. At least there's something there. At least they're not having to lay foundations, etc. There is something at Casement Park. There's still a hell of a lot of work to do. It's derelict, but at least there's a space there, and they've got 4 years to do it, and they'll be able to do something. But it's again, it's just a bit strange, and not as strange, however, as England telling UEFA that they want to play for their place at Euro 2028 by entering qualification along with their 4 co-hosts, which of course raises the risk that one misses out on the tournament. I can understand somebody saying, "Well, hold on a minute, we want to earn our place there," but I mean,
but that's if you're England. Yeah. I mean, I wonder whether Northern Ireland are thinking the same.
Nope.
I wonder whether Wales are thinking the same. Yeah, we'll go through qualifiers.
Why do that?
Is it because Big Brother England, think they're far superior in terms of we'll qualify anyway, so we might as well play competitive games?
Yeah,
I think England are confident. Yeah.
It's a strange
England
request.
are more confident because Harry Kane yesterday said that he'll be there at the age of 34. Harry Kane met with the Prime Minister yesterday and said, "I'll probably be there. I don't think you will, though, Prime Minister, because you're probably not even going to make 2024, let alone 2028."
He'll not be here in 12 months' time, will he? Yeah, that's right.
So but Harry Kane's saying he's committed to being there for Euro 2028. So now at the age of 34,
he'll be back in the Premier League then, trying to break the records.
Yeah, he will be. He probably will be. Watch out, Alan Shearer.
Yeah, Shearer may be back playing then if things start getting,
might have to.
Things start getting tight. Alan may pull the boots back on.
Until then, he's got Matty Crooks representing him in the championship with celebration.
Hey, I tell you what, fellas, we had Lee Clark, Craig Hignett, and Darren Williams pulling the boots back on yesterday, and it wasn't a pretty sight.
Yeah, what was that all about, Dave? I saw the picture. It was a great photograph of the lads.
Great photo.
And thanks to Wolverhampton FC for hosting us. We were doing a bit of filming for the Three Legends. We're gonna run a series of ads on Sky on television for the Three Legends. So we were doing the filming yesterday. So a big thank you to Wolverhampton FC of the Wayside League for lending us their ground. So it was good to see.
Yeah, fantastic.
Absolutely love it.
Great stuff.
And you lads have got. By the way, you lads have got to do some filming as well now, because we want to combine the Three Legends with the Three Leg Ends.
Very good. 3 leg ends.
Yeah.
I like it.
I'll get some pictures of my legs.
So, Ted, if you're listening in Cyprus, mate, not only are you going to be coming on this radio every morning as a Sunderland fan, as a diehard Mackem, we want you to film yourself doing something. So we've got to come up with a creative, boys. What can we get Rye to do? It's obviously going to be a Barbie, a thong, something to do with corks on your hat. What are we going to get Steve to do? Oh, come on, Rye. Get the creative juices flowing. What can we get Steve to do on camera?
Have to be a nice little pose of Steve leaning on the Riverside Stadium, or or on the Middlesbrough bridge.
No, it's the quayside, not the Riverside.
That's it. Him leaning on the Middlesbrough built bridge, looking out to the water, thinking of what could have been. Do you know what I mean?
We've actually got that photograph, haven't we, Steve?
Yeah, I'm sure you have.
Yeah, we've got that photograph of Steve with the Borough Built Bridge. Yeah, absolutely.
Actually, we'll have to remind ourselves that Ted obviously did chip in. After the news, we'll have to get Ted, who is joining us on the Northeast Brekky show. He did have a bit of a paragraph, more than a paragraph, to say on Merse and obviously the referee debacle as well. So he has chipped in with his thoughts from Has the Mackem. So we'll probably get Ted's thoughts after the break as well.
We haven't even done the club news yet.
No, we haven't. We're well behind.
We're all over the place.
Got to talk about Eden Hazard as well. He announced his retirement from football yesterday at the age of 32. He obviously joined Real Madrid from Chelsea in 2019 for £89 million. A lot of money back in those days. He played 54 league games for the Spanish Giants, but he left the club at the end of last season. He won 2 Premier League titles during his time at Stamford Bridge. But when asked about why he was retiring at the age of 32, he says, "You've just got to listen to yourself and say stop at the right time." He's been a free agent since his contract was terminated in June, which I do think probably had a little bit more to do with it. After 16 years and more than 700 matches played, I have decided to end my career as a professional footballer. The Belgian had already retired from international football last December after being part of a squad which was knocked out of the 2022 World Cup during the group stage. At Real Madrid, Hazard won the Champions League, a Club World Cup and a European Super Cup, 2 La Liga titles, 1 Copa del Rey and 2 Spanish Super Cups. But his time in Spain is widely considered disappointing because he just scored 7 goals in 76 appearances in all competitions. One of the greatest players in Chelsea history, the Premier League club said on their website, and he'll always be welcome back at Stamford Bridge.
He was a decent player.
He wasn't a bad turn, lads, was he?
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, and maybe we'll get it out to the WhatsApp listeners as well. I want to get your feedback on this. Is Eden Hazard a legend of our game? Is he an icon now? For the time he was at Chelsea. I mean, when he was at Chelsea, he was the best player, if not in the league. Probably he was rated, in the world. Is he an icon? Is he a legend of our game, or was he someone that got will get passed over just into the history books?
He had 7 great seasons with Chelsea. He won Premier League titles. He was the player of the season in 2014-15 season. Obviously, his performances at Chelsea got him that big move to Real Madrid where, as I've already mentioned, he didn't live up to expectations. And I think he arrived there a year after Cristiano Ronaldo went to Juventus, so big boots to fill. It was also a time when Gareth Bale was out of favour at Real Madrid with the manager at the time, Zidane. But when you've got big shoes like that to fill, and you don't live up to the hype, then things don't go according to plan. I think that's probably made, as a legend of the game, I'd say no.
Maybe
had
a
he gone
Chelsea,
to Real Madrid
maybe a Chelsea legend, but not a game legend. Yeah.
100% at Chelsea, and it just bad timing, I guess, going to Real Madrid after that big name had departed, and then getting an injury, that obviously hampered him when he was there as well. Yeah. But he's definitely not a legend of the game, but certainly a player that fans love to watch. I mean, there's some great stuff on YouTube. You look at his greatest goals with Chelsea.
When he was on his
absolute belters, wasn't there?
When he was on his day, he was unstoppable. Honestly, he was freaky. So,
he's mentioned at the same level as Ronaldo and Messi at one point, wasn't he? I mean, he was.
I mean, that's the thing. Yeah, he was up there. Yeah, I mean, there was years in the row. I know we don't obviously rate it, but he was front cover of the FIFA game and one of the highest. He was highest rated player in some of those games over the couple of years as well. Which that raises the question: is he an icon? Is he a legend? But I think the answer is no, which is wild to see someone of who was compared to the Messis, who compared to a Ronaldo and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a funny old one to see, because of how popular he was and how good he was on his day. My goodness, he was unstoppable.
He did well for Belgium international level. He was, he was in their all-time appearance list, 4th in that, and 2nd in the goal scoring, which is no mean feat at international level. Captained his country, captained the country as well. And he was in good company as well, wasn't he? I mean, he's playing along the likes of Kevin De Bruyne, Vincent Kompany, Courtois, Lukaku, that was like a golden generation for Belgium.
It was Belgium, yeah. Belgium had a very good, strong squad there for a while, obviously with Kevin De Bruyne as well. So, Belgium have definitely, had some stars, and with Eden Hazard, Kevin De Bruyne, they had Lukaku up the front as well. Like it was, there was a golden era there for Belgium, and they really did miss out.
Never won anything.
Was playing as well.
Never won anything or reached a final, but they were a good team.
Wild,
I guess.
Isn't it, with the names that they had?
Yeah, definitely. But that's it. I think that we've answered the question. Good player, but not a legend, and it's time to go to the news.
Oh my goodness, on time as well.
From Wickham to Whitley Bay, Stonygate to Shields, Doggy to Darlow Backlane. Steve and Ry, the North East Footy Breakfast.
Right across the northeast, the red, the tune and the cat.
It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. Simple Minds, Belfast Child. It's one of those songs, isn't it? It's just, there are a handful of them which just cut across all divides, all times, all music choices, the whole lot, and that's one of them. Simple Minds, Belfast Child. Brilliant.
Great song.
And complete fluke, we were talking about Casement Park in Belfast, and then Simple Minds, Belfast Child comes up on the computer for us to play.
Wasn't planned.
Spooky.
We know what we're doing, though.
Spooky. Okay then, boys. It's time.
Headlines.
Who is gonna start? That is the big question. Should we do a Newcastle start? I don't think we've had a Newcastle start.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Go on, Steve.
Newcastle United's ground, St James's Park, has been confirmed as a host ground for the Euros in 2028. The Magpies joined the likes of Aston Villa and Spurs in yesterday's announcement, but both Liverpool and Manchester United have missed out. Newcastle are looking to extend their ground before the tournament takes place in 2028. Former Magpie Paul Ferris is launching the paperback version of his latest book, The Magic in the Tin, at the Tyneside Irish Centre on Wednesday, October the 18th. The follow-up to his well-received first memoir, The Boy on the Shed. The Magic sees Paul give a typically unflinching but humorous account of his prostate cancer diagnosis, treatment and subsequent recovery. Serving Newcastle United in 3 separate spells on and off the field, Belfast native Ferris will be speaking at an afternoon and evening event in the Tyneside Irish Centre, and tickets are available direct from the venue. And following a successful trial period at the club, former Magpie Kieran Clark has joined Championship side Stoke City for the remainder of the season. The 34-year-old was released in the summer following a season-long loan at Sheffield United. His 129th and final game for Newcastle came in January 2022. Clark joins fellow St James's Park old boy Dwight Gale at the Potters, who are currently third bottom of the table. And Newcastle United under-21s were knocked out of the 23-24 EFL Cup following a penalty shootout defeat against Port Vale. They lost 3-2. That's your Newcastle United headlines.
Go on, Raymond.
Oh, Borough fans, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are listening around the world. It's good to be a Borough fan, isn't it? What is happening in the Middlesbrough world? Well, Middlesbrough have announced plans to subsidise all away tickets for the Carabao Cup 4th round trip to Exeter City at the end of the month. Following discussions with Middlesbrough Supporters Forum, the club will now provide a £10 subsidy for all tickets for adults over 65s and 18 to 23s, and a £5 subsidy on tickets for under 18s. A Borough spokesperson said, "Our away support has been absolutely fantastic, and with trips to Exeter and Plymouth Argyle in the same week, either side of the trips to Norwich and Bristol City, we wanted to be able to do something to try and help our travelling supporters." Brilliant by the club, that. Tickets go on general sale for the Exeter game from the 18th of October. And Lewis O'Brien has undergone successful surgery after suffering a horrifying injury against Watford. Lewis posted on his social media accounts with a picture from his hospital bed, giving a thumbs up, saying thank you for everyone and all the support he's received, and he would be back as soon as possible. Lewis is expected to be out from 2 to 3 months after recovering from surgery. And Massimo Luongo has opened up on his return to the Socceroos, admitting after not playing during his time with Middlesbrough, his international and domestic football days were probably coming to an end. But since moving to Ipswich Town after an unsuccessful period with the Borough, Massimo has taken his game to the best he has ever felt. His current form has led to a recall to the Socceroos, who take on England this Friday. And Leeds fans have taken to social media in masses to voice their displeasure after it was revealed that Middlesbrough have the option to buy Sam Greenwood for just £1.5 million. The 21-year-old joined the Whites from Arsenal back in 2020, setting them back in the region of around $3 million, half paid up front, and the other 50% was dependent on appearances. He was instrumental for the under-21s and under-23s, and he was forging a deadly partnership up front with Joe Gelhardt. But found the integration into the first team more difficult, only managing 26 senior appearances thus far. The general consensus was, though, that Greenwood would return to Ellen Road next summer, stronger, fitter and more experienced for his time at the Borough, giving him a better chance of breaking into Daniel Farke's midfield next season. But giving a local rival the option to snap up the England under-21 international for such a paltry amount has angered many, especially after such a difficult summer, obviously being relegated and losing so many players either on the cheap or on loan. So, Sam Greenwood, a little bit of a steal there for the Borough, and wishing all the best to Lewis O'Brien, who has undergone surgery and will be back in 2 to 3 months, Middlesbrough fans.
Okay, a bit of Sunderland news. Following the highly successful beanbag for the Sheffield Wednesday game last month, the Black Cats will now be screening the upcoming Leicester City fixture. Tony Mowbray's side travel to the King Power Stadium on Tuesday, the 24th of October, for what's going to be a tricky game. Tickets are £5, and that includes a drink on arrival. Tickets are now on sale. Sunderland's under-21 manager Graham Murty has been waxing lyrically about 2 new signings after his side beat Peterborough 2-1 in the Premier League Cup. The 2 are Hemia and, wait for it, Ry, it's Nectarios Triantis. Both were signed for the first team, but due to their age have been able to pick up playing time in the under-21s. Former Sunderland boss Chris Coleman's left his job as manager of Greek side Atromitros. After nearly 2 years in the role, the 53-year-old took charge of the top flight club in January 22 and led them to 8th place finish last season before signing a 1-year contract extension over the summer. So he's now looking for a job. So maybe St James's Park once Eddie Howe replaces Gareth Southgate. That is your Sunderland news. I was waiting for some bite back from Steve there, but he's...
No, you're not getting any. You're not getting any,
We've got breaking news from the North East Brekky show. Eddie Howe taking on the England job once Gareth Southgate's done. There you go.
Not happening. No chance. No chance at all.
He'll go. He loves his country.
Graham Potter.
While we're on the Mackens, before we move on, I just wanted to give, obviously, Ted is joining us on the North East Brekky show. He'll be our Sunderland representative in the next couple of weeks. And he had some thoughts that he sent to our little chat group around the referee. Obviously, in the first hour, we spoke a lot about VAR once again. Referees dominating the headlines and players, obviously, coming in. Players that have played the game, can they be referees and VARs? But Ted had to say this into our group, and I had to read it out. Arrogant of Merson to assume refs have never played the game. Maybe not to the standard of the Premier League, but at least not to non-league level many of them have done. Not to mention ex-players wouldn't anyway, as money isn't up there with punditry. Would Merson step outside of a pub on a weekend and get abuse hurried at him? There's no way he would. There is, however, a gaping requirement for less ambiguity in the delivery of certain rules and give the referees less chance for mistakes like we've seen in the last week or so. Maybe even suspend referees for mistakes. Oh, Dave, you could have got suspended.
Do it. I'm all in favour of that.
And not just demote them to lower leagues. Show them a yellow or a red card, effectively speaking. Could that work, lads? And a question posted by Ted, who will be joining us very, very soon. Could we see referees getting yellow carded? I reckon they should. I reckon all the players should have yellow or red cards in their pockets and be able to issue the referee a card if they're not happy with the decision. Or Jurgen Klopp. Imagine Jurgen Klopp running onto the field to give out a red card to the referee for a decision that he's made.
You'd need a full deck.
Is it at this point where we do this on the show? So if Jurgen Klopp and the players are not happy with the performance of the match officials, the clowns come on, just like they do with VAR, and they bring the yellow cards and the red cards, and they all form a circle around the referee, and they give it a big 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and they pull out the colour of the cards, and whatever colour is held up the most, the referee either gets a warning with the yellow card, or he's off, and Jurgen Klopp can carry on refereeing the game after that. There you go, great idea. Yeah. All right, then enough of that.
It is a right carry-on as well, by the way.
Oh dear.
Surely that can't happen though, right? I mean, surely we can't give more power to players or managers.
Nah, it's not going to happen. It's just, that's just a line for people to talk about. That'll never happen. It'll not happen. Not in a million years.
They don't know the laws of the game. You know, no doubt. Paul Merson and Wrighty will be saying Dave's arrogant by saying they don't know the laws of the game. They don't. Yeah. The amount of times I've been on a field, given a decision, and the player will just scream at me, "What's that for, referee?"
Like, I can't imagine. If you don't know, mate,
don't even bother asking.
Yeah.
Sam Greenwood, lads.
Sam Greenwood, yeah.
Yes.
We've got you two lads as Borough fans, and
we do.
We've heard that Middlesbrough have got a £1.5 million option to buy Sam Greenwood at the end of his season-long loan from Leeds United. Simple question, lads: would you buy him?
Definitely, 100% for £1.5 million. Are you kidding me? That goal on the weekend counted for £1.5 million to score against the Mackems like that. So, 100%. He's a young star. He's in England under 21 international and has been at that thing. And I would 100% take it for £1.5 million. You're laughing. I mean, it's what a shrewd bit of business there from Borough. And the best thing for me is seeing that there's been so many questions asked of the Borough recruitment team. Obviously, Kieran Scott down there. There's always been questions imposed to him. Is Kieran Scott getting it right? Is Kieran Scott making the mistakes? Is he getting the right players in? This is a big shrewd bit of business. To take Sam Greenwood on loan and then turn that into a $1.5 million signing if he has a great season as well with the club. Absolutely, I'd do it in a heartbeat. And I would dare say as well, looking at that, our other lone player in Lewis O'Brien, the one we spoke about in the headlines, obviously got in for surgery. I'd probably argue that he's probably in the same boat as well. I'd reckon there's probably some sort of fee there. Maybe it's not revealed at the moment, but I reckon there's some sort of fee there. So shrewd bit of business there, and I must take my hat off to you, Kieran Scott, because you've done ever so well there. And for $1.5 million for Greenwood, 100%, I'd take that in a heartbeat.
If we had to make a decision now, yes. But we've got the luxury of just let's see how he progresses through the rest of the season. He could be one of those players that peaks early in a loan move, but then fades away. We've still got that decision to make towards the end of it. So right now, yes, seen enough to say definitely worth $1.5 million. But yeah, let's bide our time and see how he develops.
Okay.
Yeah. What a shrewd bit of business to get someone on a loan and then turn it into 1.5. I mean. And like I said in the headlines, Leeds fans, if you went onto social media yesterday as a Leeds fan, you were absolutely fuming hearing that, that it was only 1.5. I mean, there was absolutely rioting going on that they were going to let him go for that.
Well, that's typical of Leeds fans,
Yeah.
Leeds fans do like a good riot, whether it's, figuratively speaking on social media or otherwise. So, yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, no, completely agree.
Get back to Premier League. Manchester United, not the team that they used to be, and Gary Neville, former player, now Sky Sports pundit and podcaster. They're all podcasters these days.
He'd love to come on this show. He'd love to come on this show.
Yeah,
they were talking after Manchester United had clawed themselves away from a jaws of defeat to a victory against Brentford with 2 goals, 93rd, 97th minute from Scott McTominay. Forgotten Scott McTominay, somebody who the manager Eric Ten Hag wouldn't play, but he was their saviour at the weekend. And he was asked, whether he felt that Manchester United had it in them to clinch European football, to get back in the Champions League places, and he just said, I don't think Manchester United will finish in the top 5 this season, but they proved me wrong last season after having a very poor start. And he just feels that it's a mess at Manchester United, and that is his own words. He feels the goalkeeper hasn't settled in quickly. Says that's a problem. If your goalkeeper hasn't settled, there's a bit of instability around, and that creates a problem. He says, I've had that at United. And, he obviously was saying that he was happy for Scott McTominay because, there's been a lot of negativity surrounding him, especially on social media over the last few weeks. And he says that's when it's the classic club falling apart, when you start to have your fan base and media people questioning the work ethic of a kid who's come through the academy. He says, sorry, I'm not having that. That's one kid who'll run through a brick wall for the club. That's the weight on his shoulders and the pressure and the feeling of completely not having the support of the club able to actually wear your legs down. So lots of views, lots of opinions from Gary Neville, but he doesn't feel that Manchester United have got what it takes to finish in those top 4, top 5 positions. Is this the end of Manchester United as we know it? Because a certain generation has grown up with knowing Manchester United as the club that wins everything. I mean, I grew up with Liverpool. being the team that won everything, you know, FA Cups, League Cups, the league, European trophies. It was Liverpool, and you know we got used to that, and everybody was always playing catch up, or trying to catch them on an off day in a cup final. Manchester United then became that team after Alex Ferguson had gone in there and almost got the sack, and then that Mark Robins goal in the FA Cup turned his fortunes around, and he never looked back, and they had that 20-year dynasty, if you like, of winning everything that there was to win. But now, after a succession of managers and owners which clearly the fans don't like and can't stand, is this the end of Manchester United as we know it? Can they come back from this? Is Gary Neville right?
I think current squad, it's not good. I think there's so many issues, but I'm not writing them off. Obviously, they're Man United. They're going to come back. They're going to have youngsters come through. They're going to get it right at some point. But currently, at the moment, under the Glazer ownership, under Erik ten Hag, it's not good, and it needs to change. And you know what? The sad thing for Man United is that for the rest of their playing days there, long after we're gone, it's always going to be compared to what Fergie did and the team that Fergie made at that Man United. And they're always going to be chasing their tails, trying to get back to that Fergie day. And I just don't know if you're ever going to be able to do that. I don't know if we're ever going to have a day and age where we're going to see a manager stay at a club for 14, 15 years and build a dynasty, build a team from the ground up that he wants, and get the time to do that. I just don't think it's in our DNA to do that in the current day and age. Managers just don't have enough time. They have more money than ever, but they're not given the years and years now to build a team that they want, and it takes years. It takes a fair few transfer windows. It takes a lot of and it takes a good academy. It takes a lot of things to get it all right. And for Fergie, it clicked. And you got the likes of the David Beckhams, Gary Neville, Phil Neville coming through. You had Roy Keane, like Paul Scholes. Some of these players that are irreplaceable, players that we might never ever see reach those levels again. And it's going to take a lot of time to try and build Man United up to that level again. And for me, Erik ten Hag isn't the manager that does that for them. The Glazers aren't the owners that do that for them. And the players they've currently got are so wrapped up in social media and outside noise that again, it's not good at Man United at the moment. And you've got the Greenwood saga, you've got the Sancho saga, you've got Anthony as well. It's literally one of the most embarrassing off-field moments for Man United this season, to have three players that you can throw a blanket over, all with really, really bad off-field issues. You got Jadon Sancho refusing to apologise to his manager. A young Jadon Sancho who's probably got the world at his feet, could probably be playing for England right now. Lacing up for Man United, in what would have been a dream move for any kid to go and play for Man United, refusing to apologise to his manager to play for Man United. I mean, does that not say it all? When you're at Man United, you know what I mean? Can you imagine Roy Keane, Paul Scholes, Gary Neville saying, "Nah, Fergie, I'm not apologising to you. You can bench me until I get a move in January"? There's no way. But you got the likes of Jadon Sancho sitting there going, "I'm not going to play for Man United while you're the manager. I'm not saying sorry to you. You can sell me in January." And it just shows how much power these players have of today, and just shows how lost to Erik ten Hag has become at Man United. So at the moment, they are in a complete and utter mess. I do think they'll come back in the future, but it'll be under new ownership and it'll be under a new manager.
That was going to be my point. While it's under the Glazers' control, I don't see them becoming a real powerhouse of English football again. I think there's too much going on in and around the club under that ownership. So once it's been bought and you've got new owners giving it a new sense of purpose and a new sense of direction, it's too big a club to fade away. It's too big a club. It's too big a money-making machine for it not to be up there with the biggest. But that's going to take some time. I mean, Fergie was the stars aligned for Fergie, didn't they? With the class of '92 coming through. I mean, when you think who came through there, the Neville brothers, Beckham, Scholes, Butt, all that sort of stuff, all worked their way through. It was magnificent for them, for him. But no, they're too big a club to fade away. They're going to be back, but Under the current ownership, I don't see them succeeding. I really don't. No. They might win the odd cup, as we've seen. Sorry, Newcastle fans, but yeah, then they're not going to be challenging for the title anytime soon.
Nah, they're not, and they've just got too much going on. You know what I mean? They've got to get your shop in order. When it's such a mess off field, you know, there's no way the on field performance is going to be there. It's just not the drive and passion there. You know what I mean? It's just, it's too messy for me. And they
sorry, Man U fans. It's
you
don't have to be sorry, mate. We can all smirk.
You need new ownership. You know what I mean? And you're not touching Michael Carrick while we're at it as well.
Yeah. Leave him where he is, please. Eddie Howe's your man. There you go.
Eddie Howe. I heard Eddie Howe. Yeah. Eddie Howe, after he's done at England, will go to Man United and fix his right up.
Not going to be him, lads. Keep dreaming. Yeah, I think as well. You keep going on about the Beckham documentary. I haven't watched it yet. I'm
get those tinnies over, mate, and get it.
Even my wife love it, who's not a football fan at all. I wouldn't have a clue what's going on. Obviously knows Middlesbrough and Riley McGree as well, because that's the name I shout at 2 a.m. in the morning and wake her up with. But she's loving it. She's obviously she's right into it with the celebrity status of Beckham and hearing all about it and seeing how crazy England is for football and stuff like that. Just that insight into it all is incredible.
I think this takeover talk with Hazim is just rubbish. I don't think it's going to happen. I'll be very surprised if it does. But having watched the documentary, I mean, is this Beckham documentary? Is it well timed? And it's clearly edited. I've been told it's been edited by the House of Beckham. It's clearly them they've made this documentary themselves. But is he hedging his bets there? Is he putting himself in line for an ambassador's job if a takeover went through with the Qataris?
Yeah, definitely. I think he's involved with something. I mean, we saw it yesterday with him meeting with Harry Maguire. Harry Maguire's just had come out and said he had an interview, obviously now in representing England and England duty, how he said he's met with Beckham, who he feels is the biggest ambassador for the club. He called him an ambassador already, and he said Harry Maguire said that David's been there and done it all, and as Harry admitted that he's the scapegoat at the moment for Man United and England fans, as was Beckham after that red card. Beckham's been there and done it all. He gets booed. He was getting booed when he put on an England shirt. He was getting booed when he put on a Man United shirt, exactly like Maguire. And Maguire said, it's great to hear from David and to see the insight in said documentary, but also David Beckham's already there now at the moment, involved with the England setup, involved with Man United, giving him career advice. So, I completely and utterly think you're absolutely right. I think Beckham is going to be involved in something to do with Man United. You know what? And I think it's the old heads that are probably going to come to a point at one point. The Gary Nevilles, they're just too big in the media these days to not have a say in what happens at Man United now. They're happy with Salford, though. They're happy with Salford. Yeah,
their aim is to get Salford to the Premier League. You can see that. They're all very driven by that, and I think that's great.
So the script,
if they get Salford to the Prem,
The script is written.
The script is written for Harry Maguire's resurgence within English football. So what's going to happen is England qualify for the Euros. Harry Maguire gets picked, because he always does, by Gareth Southgate. We face Greece in a knockout game, and it's 1-1 with 1 minute to go, and Maguire just pushes everybody out of the way when England gets a free kick on the end of the penalty area, and he curls it into the top corner, and everybody then loves him. There you go. Script is written. Where have I heard of that before?
And then when he's getting his winning medal, he gets a kiss from the England president, and we all go down a rabbit hole again, and it's all over.
We can dream on, lads. We can dream on. We've still got some topics to cover. Do you want to do some ads, Dave, to keep the sponsors happy?
I can if you want. I mean, if you're really insisting. I was just enjoying a good chat this morning, but yeah, okay. I suppose we'd better. Here we go. Clark.
My debut 1990 September, Bristol City away, to get that opportunity, what thousands of Geordies only dream of.
Hignett.
Playing against Chelsea and to score the first goal there is something that still lives with me now, and it's what most people will talk to me about.
Williams.
A first goal for Sunderland away at Leicester. It was a left foot volley. I didn't realise my left foot was for kicking the ball with it as well. I thought it was just for standing up.
Across the Northeast, it's the three legends.
Fridays at 6 on the Cat, the Reds and the Toon.
Steve and Ry, the Northeast Footy Breakfast.
Right across the Northeast, the Reds, the Cat and the Toon.
I Tell you what, guys, I've been digging about the WhatsApp messages that have been coming into the studio over the past few days, and Daz, who does mid mornings, I don't know what he's on. He's on some sort of trip here because he's been asking for jokes on dinosaurs, and the one that's caught my eye is, why can't you hear a pterodactyl go to the bathroom?
Oh, and why?
Because the P is silent.
Oh my God.
Yeah, got it. He will be here with all his nonsense from 9 o'clock. Good old Daz. Yeah, that's a good one. Okay, fellas, where were we after that brief interlude of humour?
Yeah, I mean, there's talks about whether to illuminate the Wembley Arch in the colours of Israel's flag when England play Australia at the weekend, and obviously I just wanted to say, should it happen? Should politics really be mixing with sport? I mean, we've had all of this with the takeover at Newcastle. I mean, it was relentless and continues to be so. People objecting to the takeover, because they say that Saudi isn't the country that we should be associated with. This situation that's developed now is horrendous. The loss of lives and stuff that we're seeing on our TV screens and reading in our newspapers and online is horrendous. But obviously there is this issue about football and politics, and not wanting to dwell on the Israel Palestine stuff too much. It's rather just politics and football. We've seen it with players about players refusing to put the poppy on the shirts and wearing the poppy with pride in November to celebrate to commemorate our war dead. Is it something, Ry? I mean, is it something which Australians do on a regular basis, because it can be seen as taking sides. It can be seen, I guess, in this woke society we live in, it can be seen as alienating people as well. But do we, should we get involved? Do football clubs and sporting personalities, should they be showing their support for various things? We've had the whole Black Lives Matter situation. The Premier League are supporting taking the knee still intermittently throughout the season. But is it something we should we steer clear of it and leave that to other people and other sides of things? What do you think?
There's two things. There's two sort of sides to it for me. One obviously side of that is racism and tackling racism in football. 100% yes, we still need to tackle racism in football.
Stamp it out.
We've seen that. We've seen that with Middlesbrough just in the recent weeks with Yusuf, one of the notable fans. I did an interview with Yusuf. He was abused by his own borough fans. Racism has to be stamped out. 100% support football doing everything they can to stamp racism out in the world and in football especially. Then on the second side of things, on the other side is the political, is the wars, is that, and that's where I feel sport shouldn't get involved. For me, when it comes to war-torn issues, when it comes to political issues, when it comes to religious beliefs and stuff like that, sport for me is the escape for fans to get away from what's happening in the world. It's the time where they can go and enjoy their club, enjoy their football, enjoy their sport, and it takes them away from whatever's happening in the real world for me. That's what the beauty of sport is. You can go to your game, you can watch your club play, you can forget everything that's happening in the world, you can forget everything, and in that stadium, in that moment when you're watching your team score a goal, that elation you have, nothing else matters. Nothing, and that's what I love about sport for me when it comes to that, is it brings people together. It brings people to talk about sport. It takes them away from what is happening. So I don't think sport, and I don't think that, and I just don't think, the FA or anything like that should align themselves to anything, because you're just going to upset, one half or one part of society. Sport is about bringing people together from all walks of life, all religion, all shapes and sizes, and that is what I love about sport. It brings people together, and no matter who you are, where you're from. I'm sitting here in Australia and I'm on a UK radio show talking about the team that I love, because sport brings us together. Do you know what I mean? And that's what I love about our game, and especially football. It brings us together, and we can talk about it, and we don't need to focus on what's happening around us. And obviously we talk about Mental Health Day as well. Mental health, sport goes a long way to helping male and female mental health, because it allows the lads to look forward to something on the weekend, when they're doing their 9 to 5, when they've got money issues, when they've got financial issues, when they've got divorces and everything that life happens to throw at us, sport can sometimes be that shining light. Seeing your club play on the weekend, seeing Middlesbrough get up against Sunderland 4-0, and it could have lifted someone's spirits that was so down in the dumps, that thought there was nothing, that there was just so much on top of their shoulders that they were never going to see the light of day again. And yet Middlesbrough scoring 4 goals on the weekend seems to have lifted all that, and they can go on a Monday and face the world again. And that's what I love about this game, and I love about, all of it. So no, the answer is a strong no. We shouldn't get political in the terms of all that sort of stuff, because sport for me is the escape from that. One side of it, racism, yes, tackle that. We 100% as a footballing society need to get on top of that and stamp that out of a game. 1000%, yes. It is disgusting. We can't have that. Second half of that is the political war-torn issues and stuff like that. That can't be brought into a game it's sport, and football is about uniting us as people, as race, as religious beliefs, and that needs to be left out of it.
So where are you on the U-turn that UEFA's now done? Because UEFA had decreed that the Russian under-17 team was going to be reintegrated into European football, but the football family almost as a whole stood up against it. England, many countries, said we're not going to play them because of what's going on in the Ukraine. That's where politics comes in and makes it really tough to have it removed from football. Where do you stand on that one, on the Russia situation?
Yeah, see, that's a tough one as well, isn't it? Because obviously, it's a warring nation with a team that, or I shouldn't say team, with a country that's, obviously backed by the UN nation and stuff like that. So look, it's again, I'm on the likelihood that sport's for everyone. You know what I mean? And it unites us. I just it's. Jeez, I've got to be careful, but
it's a real tough one. It is.
It is.
Because I don't think the Russian under-17 should have been allowed to play in UEFA competitions. I think while that's going on, that issue is going on in the Ukraine, and what Russia are doing, just effectively blitzing innocent people. Why should we allow them? All the joys and all the benefits have been part of the civilized world.
Are we blaming the under-17 kids that just want to play football for what their president is doing, though? Do you know what I mean? We're banning young kids from playing football that probably, and I'm not saying they all do, but some of them might be just want to play football. That's it. That's as simple as it is. They're under 16, they're under 17. They just want to play football, and they obviously want to represent their country that they were born in, that they were raised in. They've probably spent the past part of 13, 14 years playing football, growing up, dreaming of playing for their country, and now they're due to their politics, due to their president, they're now unable to play on the big stage, the world stage. We're not going to see the likes of Andrei Shevchenko, the Arsenal player, his name skipped my mind, the Russian midfielder. We're not going to see them at the moment because these footballers are being affected by politicians and president decisions that stops boys that just want to play football, and that's what I hate.
Should we illuminate the arch for England, Australia then?
No. I'm Australian sitting here across the ring, and I say keep it out of our game.
Yeah, I would agree. I think there's things that football can get involved in and can support, and be involved in. But I ultimately think that doing that kind of thing is, we've done it for Ukraine though, and I think that's where people will be saying, well, why aren't we doing it for Israel? And I think if they've set a precedent for doing it for Ukraine, and playing games for the Ukraine, the people are going to say, well, why haven't you done it for Israel? So I think they probably will do it, but it's going to be discussed. So I'm sure we'll find out probably before the weekend, what is going to happen. But it's an interesting one. I'm with you, Ry. I do think that, to a degree, politics really should remain politics, and football and sport should remain sport.
But that's in an ideal world. It becomes so mixed and murky, and it's impossible to keep politics out of sport, particularly when you're talking about football, because all these major organisations, whether they be national associations or whether they be governing bodies, they're all full of politics. It's all politics. So you can't keep it out of the game, and that's really unfortunate. I would love to have the pure scenario of pure sport being enjoyed in its purity, But we're living in the real world here, and you just don't get that. It is murky, it is mixed, it is full of grey areas because of the intertwining fingers that politics brings.
It is. You're absolutely right, and it's so tough, and we saw it,
and probably not one for us to be trying to mull over. I mean, there's cleverer people, there's more highly positioned people.
Yeah, but you can have an opinion, Dave.
Well, of course you can, and my opinion is we should light up the arch, because there are two separate issues there, and I don't want to get into it, but there are two separate issues there. Israel's existence is one, but what happened 4 days ago is another. And I think they're two. Yes, they're connected, but they're two separate issues. And just showing a bit of support for the Israelis who came under a relentless attack, and the things that we've been seeing with the hostages over the past 24 hours. I just think there is a bit of solidarity that we can stand there and we can send a message out. And that's my opinion. And I disagree with you guys, but that's the beauty of living in a democratic society, is we can have our opinions and hold them and view them.
Certainly can. Yep.
Okay, we'll watch that story with interest. Let's get back to football. Players, Victor Osimhen, a name which has been synonymous over the last two transfer windows with a move to the Premier League, seems to be a step closer with Arsenal a potential destination. Wow. Gabriel Jesus could go the other way, is what the Daily Mirror have reported over the course of the last 24 hours. Napoli are preparing to sell him. Of course, we've had that embarrassing situation where Osimhen was ridiculed on his own club's social media, he's still considering taking legal action.
Terrible that.
After that video was posted late last month. But Osimhen to the Premier League. Are Arsenal the front runners, do you think, or do you think there are other teams? I mean, Osimhen's going to have a bit to say on this as well. I would imagine he's going to get a chance to say where he would like to go. But is it going to be a case of him saying, "Well, yeah, I'm going to go to Arsenal because I like Arteta, I like the way they play. It's going to suit my style of play," or is Osimhen more about the money and going to go who pays the highest wages? Because I'd imagine Man City are going to be sniffing around. Manchester United would certainly be interested. And depending on financial fair play restrictions, I would say that Newcastle might be interested as well.
Yeah, I don't think Arsenal are the front runners, to be honest with you. I think honestly, Arsenal's sights in the January transfer window are going to lead to one man and one man only. It's Ivan Toney. I honestly think Arsenal are lining up Ivan Toney as their next big striker. And I think they see a big future in him, obviously coming back from that betting scandal. So I think Arsenal's focus is going to be Ivan Toney, leaving Osimhen to go somewhere else in the Premier League. Yes, I think he's destined for the Premier League. I think he's good enough to play in the Premier League, but I don't think it's with Arsenal. I honestly think it might be with the likes of a Newcastle. It just sort of, you got Champions League football. You've got Isaac, obviously a young thing, but you've got Callum Wilson, who's aging. He's probably got a couple of years left in him. Osimhen's young, hungry striker. And could fill that boot as coming in as the next promising thing. Imagine an Osimhen-Isaac partnership. It rings alarm bells in my head that it would be silly not for Newcastle to have a crack here with the money they've got and Champions League football that they've got. That they couldn't have a play here for Osimhen. So I don't think Arsenal's the destination for Osimhen. I think Ivan Toney's going to take that, and then Arsenal won't be looking for anyone else. And then I think Osimhen will probably end up at Newcastle United, which is, and I'm not saying that just because you're on the show, Steve. I'd be thinking that even if, we weren't connected. So I honestly think it's a destination for him now to focus in on, because Champions League football, we saw the result against PSG. I told you it sent ripples in there. Osimhen would have seen that. He's not happy at Napoli. Napoli, obviously, social media, making fun of him, and that's just another whole world in itself to see your own club, taking the mickey out of you on social media. But I think Osimhen's going to end up in the Premier League with Newcastle United.
What a record he's got, though.
I'd love to think he came to Newcastle, but I'm not sure whether he would fit Eddie's dressing room. I'm not sure, especially with that.
See, that's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point. See whether that that's something that Eddie will have to make the decision on, won't it? Is Osimhen, is he the victim or is he the instigator? That's what Eddie's going to have to suss out and make the call on.
Looks like a Pogba type to me.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, just quickly on Pogba as well, completely gone. Failed his second drug test. Did Pogba?
He's appealing against it, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. He's getting all the creams and vials and everything in his house getting tested, apparently, because he thinks he's been hard done by. But potentially the end of a career for Paul Pogba, because if the ban does up, it's held, it's for 4 years. So there's no way he comes back from that after 4 years. So could be the end of Paul Pogba as we know it.
Go on, Dave, what were you going to say about
I was just going to talk about Osherman's record. I mean, it's an incredible record that he's got. He's scoring just about a goal a game, for his national team. He's 1 in 2 in Italy. He's 24 years of age, so he's not a young lad who might just be having a really golden season. Exactly. He's got a few years under his belt. I think there'll be a fair chunk of clubs having a sniff at him right now.
Oh, definitely. And I think he's got the pick of the bunch. Yeah. Honestly, with his age and his goal scoring record, I honestly think he can choose his Premier League club and decide where he wants to go with it, because his goal scoring record, and that speaks to himself. But I get where Steve's coming from, and I do as well. And it's literally, and it's a very good question. It could be is he the martyr, or is he the instigator? Because and that's what the clubs are going to have to look into. That's what they're going to have to. Will Osherman fit into their dressing room? Will they fit into the mentality? Will they fit into their footballing ambitions? Because Michael Carrick talks about it a lot now as well. He doesn't sign anyone if they're not going to fit into the dressing room. Fitting into the dressing room, fitting into their beliefs, fitting into with other players is nearly almost outweighing the skill and goal scoring record. Gone are the days of just signing a Paul Pogba because he's going to score goals for you. You need to fit into this dressing room. We've seen it with Jadon Sancho. He's obviously not fitting in. We've seen it with other players that don't fit in. If you don't fit in, or you are instigating issues for your club, clubs are not going to spend the money on you now. And if Osherman is the instigator, then no one's going to touch him. But if he is the victim, if Napoli haven't looked after him, his goal scoring record speaks for himself. He's obviously a proven footballer. He needs to be able to fit in. And whether Eddie Howe's the type of manager that can pull him into line, time will tell. I think he will. I honestly think Newcastle's probably the best place for him, because I think Eddie Howe is proven with man management to get the best out of their players and to keep them in line as well. So I honestly think, Osherman, if you're listening, and I know you're a big listener of the show, and I know you're a big fan of me, it's good to see you, mate. Go to Newcastle.
We'll have you.
Eddie Howe will look after you.
No, come to Borough.
And then have a loan to Borough because we'll look after you down there as well.
Yeah. It's a big call.
Yeah.
It's a big call.
Huge call. I mean, he's a big player. His record speaks for itself. But yeah, I would say that his character is suspect, and I just couldn't see him coming to Newcastle. But I think financial fair play will rule Newcastle out. I certainly think that it's a club like Man City will be looking at him. Haaland at the moment is obviously their main number 9, but
that's signing a new deal.
He's not having the greatest of time at the moment, and Man City do get sussed out when he hasn't got a supply line. Maybe they need a bit of pressure on Haaland as well. There is an arrogance after his wonderful start to Premier League life last season, and you can understand it. But he needs a bit of competition as well. And Man City are doing what all teams in that position do. They grow season by season. They can go and compete. They can go and buy players for £100 million in the transfer windows. We saw that with Jack Grealish. They put a bid in originally for Harry Kane, but they didn't get, they didn't want to have their pants pulled down, so didn't go for that score. But they managed to bring in Haaland, who is young and up and coming and clearly going to threaten his record and probably Shearer's as well. So I think Osherman could be a target for Man City. The Arsenal one's interesting because Gabriel Jesus, he's been in and out at Arsenal with injury, and
he's gone.
He looks like he could be surplus to requirement there. So potentially that is a deal that could be done, and he may well fit Arsenal's remit. But Newcastle will be in the market for a forward. And as the January transfer window creeps round, that there's obviously talk on Newcastle's timelines on social media about are they going to go for a centre forward now? Because Jamal Lascelles has come in and done such a great job to replace Botman, and people are now more focused on the attacking side of things. And I think he made a valid point. Callum Wilson, he signed a 1-year extension, but he is coming to the back end of his career. So yeah, Osherman would be nice. I think I know a few Newcastle fans who would really like to see him in a black and white suit, but I can't see it.
Clip it so we can replay it in January when he signs.
Yeah, I've just been doing some digging while you guys were chatting about him, and was it the great Winston Churchill? I don't know, somebody of that ilk said there are lies, damned lies, and statistics, but I'm just looking at his club record here, and that doesn't make good reading. You know, we're questioning temperament. You know, we're asking the question, why hasn't it worked out with him at Napoli? And I'm just looking back. You know, he started his professional career at Wolfsburg. He played 14 games in 2 years, and they sent him out on loan to Charleroi in France. They actually signed him after the loan deal, but got rid of him within a year to Lille. He only had 1 year at Lille, scored goals, 1 and 2, and then went to Napoli. He's not been anywhere of any significant period of time, and maybe that points to, to something towards temperament and the way he behaves in clubs. I don't know. Like I say, lies, damn lies, and statistics.
He's a young kid. He's a young kid with the world at his feet. He's a striker, and you need a bit of arrogance. You need a bit of ego there, right? But you need the right manager to take that player in, curb the ego without destroying that goal scoring record. For me, you got to look at those. I get where you're coming from in terms of the club movers, but look at the goals that he scored. You've got Napoli in 91 games, 56 goals for Nigeria internationally. He's only played 26 games for Nigeria, and he scored 20 goals there as well. Yeah. At Lille, you were saying, only there for one season, but one season he scored 13 goals. His pedigree there in front of goal is proven. If the right manager thinks, I can take this young kid, I can pull him into line, I can keep his head on a stick, and I think Eddie Howe and Jason Tindall are other people to do that. And I'm telling you, clip me right now, Newcastle fans, and replay it in January, because Eddie Howe is the right man to take Victor Osimhen in. They need a second striker to replace Callum Wilson, who's obviously retiring in the next year or two, and Osimhen will end up at Newcastle, and he'll be back up to Isaac.
We've clipped you. And the man behind the dinosaur jokes is here.
Good morning.
Very good joke,
on my pterodactyl friend.
I nicked your pterodactyl joke.
I heard it. Yeah. I'm glad he didn't go with the dinosaur who eats too many curries, a Megasaurus. I'm sorry. It is too early.
It's a family show.
Was there a dinosaur with bad eyesight? What was that called? I think Thesaurus.
Do you think Thesaurus?
Yeah, that's it.
How are we doing, chaps? Are we all right?
We're doing really good, mate. Managing through an international break, missing my club football.
Yeah.
But we're doing really well. Looking forward to this big Socceroos victory over England this week, because England don't care about it, and the Socceroos do. And looking forward to just the Borough getting back into football. And good to see as well, Daz, the Middlesbrough, obviously subsidising the ticket costs for the trip to Exeter.
That's really nice, isn't it? Yeah. A nice bit of PR for the club, but also a nice something back to the fans who've had a difficult season, let's say, been up and down. So yeah, I think that's a really nice thing.
The travel in that week though can't be ignored. You know what I mean? The travel that the travelling fans would have to do in that week to go to Exeter and then Plymouth, you know what I mean, in the league straight afterwards, it's asking a lot. So I'm glad the club stepped in, we've seen Man Utd, who just, Newcastle United are coming there in the Carabao Cup. They're like, well, jack the prices up. Yeah. We got to pay for Jadon Sancho. So, it's good to see the club, has gone the opposite direction and made it cheaper.
Indeed. Well, we're out of time, fellas. We're done and dusted again for another day. We're getting through this international break, aren't we? Without sitting there going, what are we going to talk about, like?
Yeah.
All right, fellas.
Yeah. We'll hand over to the expert now. Go on, Daz.
Yeah, it's all in Daz's hands for the mid-morning show. The nonsense continues right across the northeast. We're very good for that on these stations. The Cat, the Red and the Two. Fellas, see you tomorrow.
Have a good day.
Have a great day.
Bye.
See ya.
From Yarm to Yibby, Harrington to Horsley Hill, Swarwell to Silverlink. Steve and Ry, the Northeast Footy Breakfast.
Right across the northeast, the Red, the Toon and the Cat.